Hey everybody, my name is John. I go by DM Faulty, and this is Out of Character. This is my very first YouTube channel, obviously, and this is the very first episode of it. And for this episode, I really wanted to look around the internet and YouTube in general and just see what other people were doing for their first episodes. What I came across was a bunch of people just kind of jumped in and they just kind of took like a lot of topics and just talked about it, especially in the RPG community. But I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to do something a little bit more special, a little bit more intimate. Like I wanted to give a little bit of a first impression on what I wanted to do, some kind of like explanation on what to expect in future videos. So I ran into Tabletop Terrorist, and I've already been familiar with them, but I went all the way back to their very first episode, and I saw Tim was talking about his inspirations. And he was talking about Matt Click and some other people on YouTube and how they inspired him to do what he is doing now. That is pretty much what I decided I was going to do with this video. I was going to run a whole video on my inspiration. Now, it's actually a little bit untrue, so here's what this video is going to be about. It's going to be split into two parts. The first part is going to be all about my inspiration. I'm going to list off a bunch of people and give a very brief explanation on why they inspired me to do what I'm trying to do here. And the second part is going to be all about the videos that I'm going to be putting out, the topics that I want to talk about, what I'm trying to accomplish with this video, what I'm trying to accomplish with future videos, my ambitions, my expectations. So without further ado, let's just jump straight in. So obviously the very first RPG person I ever encountered was DMJ, and I started playing Dungeons and Dragons about maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. I don't really remember. And I played one game, and I was a player, and as a very creative person, it's really hard for me to not be in control of certain things. I just start developing ideas, and I want to implement those ideas as quickly as possible. So I instantly started reading the books to learn how to be a DM, which was really intimidating at first, but I took on the challenge and I started going for it, and I just went in, and my first game was terrible. It was the worst experience ever, which is why I started going on YouTube trying to find someone to give me some kind of insight into what I should be doing as far as like the creative process of constructing an RPG game as a DM. So I found DMJ, and he was super insightful, and a lot of the stuff he was saying I was able to like start implementing right away and start thinking differently, and my gaming and just the whole procedure started to get better. My second game was still not that great, but it was better than the first. And then I found Matt Click from DMJ, and just ever since I've kind of been subscribed to Matt, he's just put out a bunch of content that it's just so accessible for me and easy for me to understand, and it's broken down in a very simplistic way, and he's super modest in the way that he talks, so he's not like in your face and doesn't really make me feel like inferior. Not saying that DMJ did, but he was a lot more like upfront about how he felt about certain things, and as like a new player it was kind of intimidating. But Matt was a lot more open, and from Matt I kind of just branched out to a bunch of the people that he talked to, and Matt talks with like a lot of people, so it was very easy to start finding other channels to look into and stuff like that. Now, my biggest inspiration to create these videos is actually from Barker, and I know Barker has been kind of doing this for a little while, but his Winds of Sorceline is where I kind of fell in love with his videos, because I personally have never been able to sit through a live game until Winds of Sorceline. It's kind of like, for me, I hate watching sports, but I love playing sports, and it's like that with Dungeons and Dragons and video games and a bunch of things. I love playing them, do not like watching them. So, but Winds of Sorceline was something completely different. Barker's style was so different and so interesting, and I just wanted to learn how to be like that, how to put forth the storytelling that he was putting forth and the freedom that he was giving the players. And it was mind blowing to me. It was a complete change in the way that I would DM forever, pretty much. Every time I've ever DM'd, I've completely changed and made my style not exactly like Barker's, but as similar. I like the freedom aspect. I like giving people the potential to do what they want and to add to the story. And there are other people. DBJ is a really big inspiration. Almost every single time he puts out a video, I'm like clicking on it as soon as he puts it out. Questing Beast is awesome. I've made a few maps. I don't really post my maps or anything like that, but they're fun to make, and he gives me a lot of instructions on how to do so. And I wouldn't have found him without PhD&D, who's also really cool. His coffee sessions with world building have really helped me to put everything in perspective. T the writer, and clearly Tabletop Terrorist is why I'm making this video right now. So Tabletop Terrorist, Tim and James are by far some of the best players I have ever seen in any D&D game. They're just awesome, and they're great graphic designers. Clearly they made the trailers for the Provokers game. They put together the thank you video or for Matt Click's subscriber hit. They did a lot of stuff, and I really enjoy listening to them. And even when they talk sometimes at the end of the Winds of Cerceline, they give a lot of good insight, and especially Tim, because he takes a lot of hits as a player. So just watching Tim play is a good way to see how you as a player should react in certain situations in order to make the game more intense, which obviously led me to start thinking about other things. So that's pretty much it. There's probably more people that I'm missing, and I'll probably feel bad that I didn't mention them in here, but it's my first video, so somewhere along the lines I'll give everybody the proper thanks and respect that they deserve. But for now, those are the people that really made me want to make this video. Now, moving on to the second part of this video, where I talk about my expectations for my channel out of character in general. So in general, here's what I want. I want to be able to do several different things. I have videos coming out that are based on bigger topics that I'm not going to be completely scripted, but I have to do a lot more research on. And I want to do something like the idea channel, or even something similar to game theory, where I take some stuff and I break them down into very intellectual conversations that don't really have a right or wrong answer, and I explain all of the arguments. For instance, one big thing that I've been fiddling with right now is the role of the player versus the role of the DM, and there's a lot of arguments that go along with this, and I wanted to break it down and give it to you guys in a way that you guys can discuss amongst yourselves which one you prefer, and just give you all the accurate information in the best way that I possibly can. And I wanted to do big videos like that, maybe once or twice a month. I also wanted to do small opinion-based videos. And when I say opinion-based videos, these are just random ideas that I have that they don't really need or deserve a really big amount of research or data. They can just be, spat out. And that's kind of what I want. This background, that's kind of boring. I'm also going to try to create a set at some point. I work, so I have to make time for that. And the last thing that I really want to do that I think will be really unique is called story time. I might change the name because that sounds kind of lame, but either way, it will be kind of like a covering of stories that take place in D&D proper and other settings, and an explanation of what D&D proper is. What is Forgotten Realms? What is Greyhawk? What are these other things, and what makes these stories so interesting? I want to talk about legendary creatures, legendary weapons, legendary NPCs, the stories behind them, and what make them so legendary. Break the stories down for those who don't follow the stories or those who don't care about the stories, and just give them to you in very small easy to understand snippets. That way you can come and you can, you heard about this guy, you come, you watch the video, and you're all set. You can add that guy to your campaign if you want. You can take that story, completely destroy it, rewrite it, and put it in your campaign, but at least it's something more to add that has been in D&D for a long time. And I feel like there's a lot of content in D&D that as dungeon masters we kind of brush over because we want to do our own thing. We want to make our own worlds, we want to build stuff from scratch, and we don't want to take anything that has been sitting there for a long time. Some people do, some DMs do, but most of the DMs that I come across are more interested in getting what's in their head out on paper. And I think there's a whole world of reasons why you should dig into D&D proper and see why these NPCs are so legendary, and see why there are books written about the same characters over and over again, why Forgotten Realms has been the same D&D story going on. What is going on with Elemental Evil? What is that story? What is the continuation of Dungeons and Dragons? What have the gods been up to? What is the spell plague? Like, what are these things, and are they interesting enough that you should add them into your story? And overall, those are the three things that I really want to do with this channel. Maybe there's more stuff that I'll add later, but those are the three things that I'm focused on now. Hopefully within the week I can start getting out more videos, and things you'll start seeing it. Again, sorry for the background. My set should be done eventually. Yeah. Alright, and that's it. That is the first episode. Thanks for watching.